They thought they broke me that summer, but it turned out to be the season that made me at high. I'm Natalie Rivers. I'm 27, I run an outdoor gear brand now, and I didn't speak to half my family for nearly 5 years. Why? Because one summer, they thought it would be funny to leave me stranded, alone, in the middle of nowhere. Their little attesta of me was supposed to be a joke. But it became something else entirely. You probably think I'm exaggerating. I wish I grew up the youngest of 3 siblings. My older brother, Jake, was the golden child, the football captain turned investment banker. My sister, Emily, was the designated genius, off at Stanford before I even passed Algebra 2. And me? I was the creative one. Which in my family meant, the oddball. The flighty, artsy girl who didn't have a solid plan. They never really said it out loud, but their jokes did the talking. Natalie will figure it out, they'd say with a smirk. Maybe she'll sell seashells or start a TikTok cult. Ha! Ha! So when we planned a family summer trip, a road trip through the Southwest, I was already bracing for a few jabs. What I didn't expect was to become the target of an elaborate prank. It started out normal enough. We rented a big van and drove from Santa Fe through Arizona, stopping at national parks and small desert towns. I was the designated playlist, DJ and snack supplier, trying to keep the mood light, but every day, the jokes piled up. Let's see if she can pitch a tent without asking Siri. Bet Natalie thinks rattlesnakes are misunderstood. Harmless, right? I told myself it was. Until day 5 that we were near Petrified Forest National Park. I'd gone to grab coffee from a roadside stand while they filled up the van. When I came back, the van was gone at first. I thought maybe they moved it to mess with me. Classic Jake move. I waited by the stand, scanning the area. 10 minutes. 20. I texted. No answer. I called. Straight to voicemail. The barista gave me a weird look as I paced. You okay?
Yeah.
I lied. My family's just playing a prank. The barista, a guy about my age with kind eyes, frowned. Some prank. It's 103 degrees out. That's when it hit me. The van wasn't coming back. I checked my phone. One text finally came through, from Jake. Let's see if she can handle herself for once. That was it. No follow-up. No location. Just that I sat on the curb. Sun beating down, sweat pouring. I didn't even have my wallet. They'd taken off with all my stuff. My stomach twisted. Was this supposed to be a lesson? A punishment for being the non-serious one? I should have panicked. But something inside me clicked. I stood up and walked back to the barista. Hey, can I borrow a phone charger? He raised an eyebrow but handed one over. Family ditch you? Apparently. I muttered. Think they want to see if I can survive. Well, he said, this isn't exactly Survivor, but if you need help, I know some people. I thanked him, charged my phone behind the counter, and opened Google Maps. I could either wait hours, hoping they turned around, or do the exact thing they thought I couldn't figure it out. I found a bus schedule. There was a local line that passed through town twice a day. The next one was in 45 minutes. It wasn't fancy, but it would get me to Flagstaff, where I had a college friend who owed me a favor. With a small paper bag of snacks the barista gave me, I hopped on the dusty, half-empty bus. As I looked out the window at the stretching highway, I felt something unexpected, relief. Maybe it was the heat stroke talking, but I wasn't scared anymore. I was free. In Flagstaff, my friend Lily let me crash on her couch. She offered to call my family, chew them out, send an Uber XL across the desert, whatever I wanted, but I said no. I wanted to see how far I could go without them. Lily had connections with a local outdoor gear shop. Within 2 days, I was doing inventory and helping organize shelves. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough for me to buy a cheap secondhand backpack and a burner phone. I wasn't just stranded anymore. I was moving. I ended up staying in Flagstaff for 2 weeks. I volunteered for a hiking tour group on weekends and started sketching out ideas for a minimalist gear line, designed specifically for women who wanted to explore without relying on the usual Boy Scout stereotype stuff. Every night, I journaled what happened that day, how I handled it, what I learned. By the time my family finally texted me again, 3 days after leaving me, I had stopped waiting for the apology. They sent a group text. "You mad? It was just a joke. You good?" I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a picture. Me, standing on a cliff near Sedona, wind in my hair, sun setting behind me. Caption, turns out I can. The likes rolled in. Friends asked what I was doing. Some even said I looked happier than I had in years. I realized then, I didn't need validation from people who measured me by how well I fit their mold, but I also realized I didn't want to just leave it there. I Wanted to build something. By the time I returned home, on my own schedule, not theirs, I had 3 sketchbooks full of designs, a list of local suppliers, and a tiny fire inside me that wouldn't go out. My parents barely looked up when I walked in. Jake grinned and said, "Surprised you didn't call the cops." Emily added, "So you're not mad?" I just smiled. "Nope, thanks for the field test." They didn't know what I meant, but that was fine. I wasn't done yet. Over the next year, I worked every weekend job I could get at farmers markets, trail guides, outdoor workshops, while building my gear brand on the side. I called it Red Cactus. Strong, simple, made to thrive in heat. Eventually, I launched a Kickstarter. My goal was modest, $10,000 to fund the first production run. I hit it in 3 days. By week 2, I'd raised over $40,000. The night it happened, I got a text from Jake. "Wait, is this your company?" I didn't answer. I just sent him a care package with a Red Cactus t-shirt. In size small, the brand kept growing. Women started tagging me in photos, wearing my gear while hiking, camping, climbing. One sent a video from Iceland, saying, "Your jacket got me through the blizzard." Every order, every message, chipped away at the old voice in my head. The one that said I wasn't built for real life. Turns out, I wasn't just built for it. I thrived in it. 2 years after they left me stranded, I got invited to speak at a Women in Business Summit. And guess what my keynote was titled? "Let's see if she can." I told the story, everything. From the gas station barista to the dusty bus, the burner phone, the failed prototypes, and finally, the success. The room laughed, gasped, cheered. But more than anything, they understood. After the talk, a woman in her 50s came up to me in tears. "My family did something similar once," she said. "I still feel like I'm trying to prove myself." I looked her in the eye. "You don't have to. You already did." Now, I live in Utah, just outside Moab. Red Cactus has 6 full-time employees and ships worldwide. We partner with women-led tours and outdoor survival workshops. And every item we make has a tiny tag inside, embroidered with our motto, "Turns out, she can." My family? Things are civil. We meet occasionally, exchange holiday texts. But they know now. They know I didn't just survive that summer. I built from it. If you're wondering why I told this story, it's not for pity or applause. It's because someone out there is being laughed at, doubted, left behind, maybe by their family, maybe by themselves, and I want you to know you can walk away from that. You can turn their joke into your origin story, and one day, they'll look at you, not with laughter or doubt, but with wide eyes, trying to catch up. That's the day you'll know they shouldn't have dared you, because you were never the joke, you were always the answer. Not long after the summit, a reporter from a national outdoor magazine reached out to me. She'd seen the viral video clip from my keynote and wanted to do a full feature on Red Cactus, a brand born from a betrayal. She called it first. I hesitated. Did I really want the whole world to know what my family did? But then, I remembered all the women who came up to me afterward, whispering versions of the same story. If sharing mine helped even one of them, it would be worth it. Still, I had no idea just how far the story would go. The article was published with the headline, "Left Behind, She Built an Empire, the Natalie Rivers Story." It exploded online, suddenly. I was getting emails from outdoor groups, universities, even high school counselors asking if I'd speak or mentor. Red Cactus sales tripled in 2 weeks. Our warehouse went from one dusty garage to a real space with loading docks and a small showroom. Jake sent another text, "Wow. We're proud of you." I almost laughed. Now he was proud. But where was that when I needed someone to just believe in me? I never responded to that message. Not because I was angry, I wasn't anymore. I'd outgrown needing his approval. But I had something better. Proof. Emily emailed me too. Hers was a little more sincere. She said she hadn't realized how serious it had all been. That she thought I'd laugh it off like I always did. I replied, simply, "I stopped laughing the moment you drove away." She asked if we could talk. I agreed. She flew out a few weeks later, stood in my warehouse like she'd walked into another world, and said, "I didn't know you had this in you." I smiled. That makes 2 of us. We talked for hours. She apologized, not just for the trip, but for the years of minimizing me. I could tell it was real. And I let some walls down. Because while I'd built this on my own, I didn't want to live in bitterness forever. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, but it did mean moving forward with boundaries. Still, there was one conversation I hadn't had yet, one that would take more strength than any hike or summit or business meeting. It was with my parents. They were old school, believed in a tough love and learning the hard way. I tried to explain that leaving your child stranded in the desert wasn't A parenting tactic, it was emotional cruelty, their response? You turned out fine, didn't you? That one sentence told me everything I needed to know, so I decided not to ask for an apology anymore. I didn't need one to validate what I'd accomplished. And I didn't need it to decide how much of my life they got to be part of. But the most surprising moment came a year later. I was invited to host a wilderness retreat in Colorado for women overcoming emotional trauma, abuse survivors, grief workers, military veterans. It was part adventure, part healing circle. At first, I doubted whether I was qualified to lead something that deep until the first night, when a woman, about my mother's age, stood up by the fire and said, "My family abandoned me when I got sick." I thought that was the end of my story. And just like that, I knew. I wasn't just building gear anymore. I was building space for women to prove themselves without having to almost die for it, space for voices like mine that had been laughed at, silenced, or ignored, space where being underestimated wasn't a weakness, it was our advantage. That retreat changed me. When I came home, I added a new section to the Red Cactus website called The Climb. It featured stories, raw, real, and sometimes painful, of women who had turned their own low points into something powerful. IT became the soul of our brand. And my inbox? Flooded. One day, a letter arrived by mail. A handwritten one. It was from the barista, the one from the gas station. His name was Matt, and apparently, he'd followed my story ever since the magazine article came out. I never forgot that day, he wrote. You looked angry, hurt, but also like someone on the edge of becoming something bigger. I'm not surprised at all. He included a photo of that gas station, now repainted, and a little note, "Still think of you when it gets hot out here. You made it." I cried reading it. Not because I was sad, but because he saw me, even when my own family didn't. And maybe that's the lesson I'd leave you with. Sometimes, the people who should believe in you the most, don't. Sometimes they laugh when they should support. Sometimes they test you when you already feel broken. And sometimes, they walk away, thinking they're being funny, while you're left piecing your soul back together under the Arizona sun. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there, waiting, because the real punchline is this: when they thought they'd broken me, they accidentally gave me exactly what I needed, a reason to rise. So, if you've ever been stranded, literally or emotionally, just know, the road back doesn't have to be a straight one. It can be dusty, winding, lined with bruises and tears and rage, but every step you take on your own terms becomes a declaration. Every mile you travel without their permission becomes your power, and one day, someone will look at you, stunned, and say, "How did you do it?" And you'll smile and remember the girl sitting on a curb with nothing but a granola bar, a dead phone, and a broken heart, and say, "Turns out, I could all along." About 6 months after the retreat, I was invited to deliver a TEDx talk. The theme? The joke was never funny. When I stood on that red circle, lights hot on my face, the silence of the crowd pressing in, I didn't talk about strategy or product design. I told the story. The van. The heat. The text, "Let's see if she can." I could feel the breath catch in the room, and when I said, "Turns out, I could," and then some, the audience rose to their feet. That was the first time I let myself feel it fully. I made it. After the talk aired, I heard from people around the world, women, yes, but also young men, older folks, teens. One message came from a girl in Brazil. She wrote, "Your story helped me leave a toxic home. I have no money yet, but I started designing hiking gear from thrift clothes. One day I'll send you a jacket." Another came from a father in Canada. "Thank you," he said. "I showed your talk to my daughters. I want to be the kind of dad who fuels their climb, not doubts it. For a long time, I thought I had to heal in spite of my past. But these messages taught me something new. Healing could ripple through it." Red Cactus became more than a business, it became a movement. We launched scholarship programs for young women studying environmental science and industrial design. We created wilderness programs for teens from broken homes. Our No Map Needed initiative placed outdoor survival kits in women's shelters nationwide. And once, just once, I got an email from Jake again. "I showed my daughter your video. She wants to be like you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Some legacies speak for themselves. The thing is, when people try to clip your wings, they're rarely thinking long term. They just want to feel taller for a moment. But if you ever find yourself left behind, left out, let that be the start of your own becoming. Because the real question isn't whether they think you can, it's what happens when you finally realize you already could. And me? I used to be the girl no one took seriously. The joke. The punchline. Now, I'm the founder of a multi-million-dollar brand, a keynote speaker, a mentor, and someone who walks every trail with her head held high. As sometimes, people ask if I ever thanked my family for that summer. No. But I thank the moment, because that moment, the heat, the silence, the disbelief, gave me something they never could have predicted. It gave me me. And to anyone reading this, wondering if they're strong enough, you don't have to wait for permission, or rescue, or even closure. Sometimes, the only map you need is the one you draw with your own stubborn feet. So go ahead, pack your bag, lace your boots, turn the page, because let's see if she can. Wasn't the end of my story yet. It was just the start of a legend.